I have just been to my old school to pick up my artwork, and honestly, it's a bit embarrassing to admit how excited I've been to do this. So, naturally, the first thing I was going to do was make this video. I know there's quite a few people that do this. They'll go through their GCSE or their A-level sketchbooks, talk about their projects, and I'm going to do the same. I did try to do this with my GCSE work, but I just couldn't really find enough to talk about. For A-levels, I had a lot more choice over the project that I did and just kind of, what I did for my sketchbook. And there's a lot more I can talk about. First of all, I would just like to apologise if you hear any noises. My dog is in the same room as me. He has a bit of a tendency to kind of walk in all the places that he shouldn't. So a lot of kind of presenting my work involved him just coming to trample all over it. And also this video is just my coursework sketchbook. My exam work sketchbook I'll do in a separate video when I've collected all of that, because I couldn't get it all today because there was some like 3D stuff and models that would have been a nightmare to carry all on the train. So I'm gonna stop waffling on and start. So I guess it's worth mentioning at first that the topic that I chose was femininity, and this came about because before starting our coursework we had a mock exam. We were given a paper just like the actual exam but with slightly less choices, so I can't remember all the choices, but the one that I chose was conflict, and mostly other people did because there's a lot you can explore with conflict. And I ended up kind of accidentally exploring the conflict of being a woman, and the patriarchy and like expectations of women. So it was a lot of like focusing on the negative side of being a woman, and I tried to relate all of the artists that I explored with that, and my final piece as well, which I'll try and insert a picture of my year 12 final piece for that, which was 2 paintings like stitched together. And then after the exam we were kind of encouraged to build on what we had already done in the exam, so that we kind of had a starting point. We already had work to use. So I went for femininity as a whole. There's a lot you can explore in that. So one thing I wanted to include actually is my initial mind map. I don't actually know why I didn't put that in my sketchbook. I think I must have just forgotten about it. But these were some of like my initial ideas, some of the initial artists I was going to look at. I don't think I looked at all of them. I know I looked at them too, I don't think I looked at her. And like kind of just doing some simple research of things I could look at. Kind of annoyed that I didn't include that actually. It's a good idea to show your process. This was part of my process. This was my first ideas. The cover has no significance. I just thought that the colours I had were pretty, so I just painted them on there. So this was kind of a mind map. I guess it was kind of a more advanced version of like the initial mind map, because the way we were encouraged to do things was kind of leave our presentation until the last couple of weeks where we had the majority of our work and could decide on an order to show kind of your process of thinking, because some people's projects change, and that's all right. Like mine, you'll see as we go through it that mine shifts from the negative sides of femininity to embracing the positive sides of femininity. And these are some of the things that were kind of commonly used in my work. So a lot of colour theory, definitely. Feminism speaks for itself. Fashion was based on one of the artists that I chose, and then I explored it a bit deeper. Makeup as well, and then flowers. For a lot of these, there are kind of, I explored the positives and negatives with both sides. So of course, makeup can be used as both self-expression, but also it can feel like something you have to do to change the way that you look. Similar with fashion, some people feel forced to dress like a woman because that's what's expected of them, whereas some people use fashion as a way to express themselves. And then this was kind of this was a mood board of just pictures that I found that related to some of those ideas on the mind map. So we've got makeup, flowers, a little bit of colour theory, perfume, feminism, and fashion. And then this was the first artist I did in that mock exam. Her name is Romina Basu. I'm probably going to pronounce some of these names wrong. And this was my copy of her work, and then this is my kind of recreation of her work by taking my own pictures and then painting it. That one definitely turned out a lot better. And This was kind of stored in my drawer for a long time with pieces that had chalk and pastels on them, so that's why there's like a little bit, I'm not actually sure how well you'll be able to see stuff. And then I did these both on like canvas paper, so it was like just really thin. If you imagine the texture of like canvas, it was like that, but it wasn't in like a proper canvas, it was just like thin paper. And that works quite well, but I started to run out of it, so I didn't use it for all of my pieces. And then definitely would like to say some pages look better than others. You don't get marks for presentation, for how good it looks, and I've never been really great at that, so that's not something that I particularly focused on. So then these are some examples of her work. And then these were just annotations about how I interpreted her work. So I talked about female gaze, stereotypes of women, particularly talking about makeup, because a lot of these kind of depict makeup. The one that I did was, and then these ones were quite, I like to talk about these ones quite a lot because you can see the men painting on her face, and to me that definitely symbolises kind of the expectations pushed onto women by men to the point that it feels really forced. And then here I included a little bit about makeup and also like cosmetic tattoos, Botox, like eyebrow threading, I don't actually know what that is. Eyebrow tattooing, I don't know. Here I talked about the evolution of makeup, how it was used in like ancient Egypt and then as like by the Victorians, and then I guess what it is now. These were some photos I took of myself, the idea of plastic surgery and stuff. And like, ironically enough, I actually like these pictures. I think I look quite nice in them, even though I'm supposed to feel insecure with the way I look because I've got all these arrows on my face of the things that I would change, like facelifts and stuff. I don't know the science behind it, but I like those pictures. And also there were so many pictures that I took as references throughout, and I still haven't deleted them all. I don't know why. And this was my second artist. This is Sharon Pomales, and then we've got the canvas paper again. And one thing to mention actually before I forget is that the keeping the border around here was actually, it was my teacher's idea, because once again it shows the process, but it also reminded her, and I definitely see it, of kind of makeup swatches and kind of, I guess, the messiness of makeup and stuff, and I really like it. And then that was my own picture, some really unattractive pictures, but that was a point I made. I actually do quite like the painting though. So once again she focuses on makeup again, so that is why those two artists are together, because I talked about makeup. And this is one of my favourite like presentations because it's quite simple but it looks quite nice. I kind of talked about kind of the idea that her work shows self-expression and also kind of a lack of shame for who she is, because she's willing to take these like, I guess, unflattering pictures of herself and then paint them. Like that's definitely some kind of like love if you're willing to do that for yourself. And also kind of the different colours in the skin. It shows like that she doesn't have this perfect skin, and it brings out like the really, like the beautiful colours in her skin, like purples and pinks. This page is a little bit annoying because there's a massive gap. I didn't know what to add here. But yeah, I talked about Cindy Chen. A lot of people would have probably heard about her because she's on TikTok. That's how I found out about her. Her really like creative makeup looks. For some reason the pictures I took were really blurry, but we'll ignore that. So I talked about kind of the way that she talks about different issues and the way she feels in some of her videos, and that makeup is for her to express herself. So now we're moving on to the positives of what makeup is. And then we've got David Bowie. I was also talking about 80s makeup and the way that became like a symbol for certain people. And then myself, those are my eyes. They both had eyeshadow on them and I brought out the colour in that one. Oh yeah, my version of David Bowie. I tried to draw it but it didn't work and it was very last minute. But I really liked doing that. But the problem was I used lipstick and it wouldn't come off my face properly. So I went to school the next day. One half of my face slightly more red than the other. But nobody noticed unless I actually like brought it up to them. And then that was similar to the first one, which is there. But the picture, I just found out an old picture that I'd taken, so it was slightly like more blurry. I couldn't add as much detail, so I did a second one. Also, a lot of the stuff that I took a lot of inspiration from teachers, like what my teacher said I would generally do. A lot of people disagree with that sometimes, which is definitely alright to go your own direction. Belinda Eaton. For her, I talked about tattoos as a method of self-expression. I just kind of, these reminded me of tattoos, and of course they're floral patterns, and I talk about flowers a lot more later. Kind of as a last minute, I just added like tracing paper over the top to kind of mimic these patterns. It doesn't look that great. I also didn't have time to finish the painting, but that's fine. This is a copy of her work as well. Now here, this is like one of my absolute favourites. I just think it looks so elegant. It's just me doing eyeliner. This one's quite sad because it ripped. But yeah, those two are the same picture. That one I did first. I was wearing my woman earrings that I made. I think I actually made them specifically to like take pictures with them for art. Funky earrings is my thing, and of course I talked about self-expression, so I was kind of encouraged to use that in my work, you know. I wear funky earrings, that's a form of self-expression. And then my little colour theory, my map or mood board, I don't know, and then kind of the kind of meanings that are attached to purple and pink. I think this is really pretty. Now here is one of my favourite artists to look at because it gave me an excuse to talk like half a page about lesbianism. Kaethe Butcher, I think her work is so pretty. But yeah, I focused on kind of the intimate relationships and like emotions. She also like uses like words in her work, and then she's kind of like hugging her body, and there's a lot of like intimate relationships between women, so that definitely gave me a chance to talk about lesbianism. And the way it's like fetishized by men. Is that the right word? I don't know. And also the way that some people see lesbian as a dirty word. And now we've got feminism. Reasons why we need feminism. This page would be definitely a double spread if I did it now, because there's so much more that I could have added to this. I'm not even sure if I talked about like lack of education in certain countries, but that's a big thing. Equality between the sexes, the gender pay gap, the way that breasts are sexualised, women getting the right to vote after men, just women being sexualised, bodily autonomy, so abortion. And I did write like an entire paragraph about abortion rights in my related study, which if you don't know what a related study is, it's essentially an essay related to a topic, related to your topic or related to a part of your topic. And then that's just a lot of pictures of like protests and stuff. Once again, we've got an empty page, very depressing. And then this was just some things that certain people said about feminism and femininity. Yeah, femininity. We've got some well-known faces. And then I also added what the main artists that I looked at, kind of how I think they explore femininity in their work. So Kaethe Butcher, the intimate and emotion-filled side of women, Romina Basu, the first one I did, issues of the patriarchy, Sharon Pomales, the use of makeup for self-expression, and Astrid Torres, which is one that is coming up, the gentle and delicate side of women. And here she is, Astrid Torres. Yes, she does like collages. I think they're digital, and I did do some digital ones. So this gave me a chance to talk about women's fashion, because you can see a lot of them are in like vintage women's fashion. They're quite unusual, I guess, and there's the use of flowers in there a lot. And then this was like a physical collage that I made, and then I used pictures of flowers that I took myself, and then also pictures of myself that I took myself. Then this one was an absolute nightmare because I had to redo the drawing. The first drawing looks so much better, but it looks fine. And then these are the digital edits I did. That's my favourite. I just think it's simple and nice. Oh yeah, I also talked about colour theory and like the use of like pastel colours to show this delicate side of women. And I tried to make sure that I avoided using stereotypes throughout, because that was a big argument. Stereotypes are bad. It's like women can be delicate, but they can also be strong and have a voice and stuff. You can be two things at once, and that's a really good thing. So I also talked about the fact that women can still choose to dress what is expected of them because it's their choice. So people, like women, can still wear dresses because they want to, and not because they feel forced to. And women can still wear makeup if they want to, and it doesn't mean that they feel forced to, you know? And then this was also something I saw through TikTok years ago. I was probably in year 10 when I saw this. And it was about a social experiment that Marina Abramovic did in 1974. And this is her most popular performance art piece. Also, if you watch true crime and you watch Eleanor Neale, you've probably seen this because I think she did a video about Marina Abramovic's work. And so essentially she stood in a room for 6 hours, just there, she didn't move. There was a table full of objects that people could use on her, and during this period I take full responsibility. So essentially people could do whatever they wanted to her and they wouldn't face the consequences. And there was some quite disgusting things done to her. She was injured, she was assaulted, she was cut, she had things written over her, and at one point somebody even held a gun to her head and put her fingers on the trigger. She was risking her life for this performance piece, and it definitely demonstrates kind of the way that women's bodies are objectified. Of course, the focus on this performance piece wasn't necessarily about being a woman, it was more about society would choose to do horrible things to a person if they have no consequences. When the time was up and she confronted people, a lot of people ran away because they were confronted with the fact that this was an actual person that they just hurt and not just a thing. And then on a bit of a lighter note, I talked about fashion and kind of Coco Chanel. Apparently she stole tweed from menswear and she kind of brought out this slightly more masculine side of women's fashion. And then just general about androgynous fashion. And here, oh my god, this took so long. But yeah, I did a mood board of flowers. I took all of these pictures myself. I think it was last October I went to a place in Cornwall called the Eden Project, and they have these like big like domes, and inside one of them they have like a tropical rainforest environment, and the other one they have a Mediterranean environment, I think it was. And I just took pictures of all the flowers that were there. That's what most of these are. And then just a little bit about kind of the relationship between flowers and women, particularly through the phrase or term Mother Nature. And then just more about flowers, how flowers are used so much in perfume. And then some quotes from poetry, and then the characteristics of flowers that are also associated with women, flower names that some girls have. And then also this kind of the way that flowers are used as decoration, and in the past women were sort of used as decoration by their husbands as a kind of like trophy wives. And then here another artist that I looked at, Georgia O'Keeffe. I didn't do any work inspired by her because by this point we were near the end, and I was near the end of like the amount of time we had to do our coursework. So I was kind of just finding artists who inspired me and who related to my project. Her work kind of like depicts female anatomy, and it definitely shows a very like beautiful side of it through like the colours and kind of relating to like flower imagery, because flowers are seen as very pretty. And then Evelyn de Morgan was someone that my teacher told me about. I think I talked about like the use of flowers in her work in general, and then these were two that I found where she used flowers. And then this one I talked about specifically sunflowers and how they follow the sun, which can kind of show optimism, following the light. A little bit cringy, but it works. Apparently I said, "Come to terms with and embracing my own femininity has been an example of following the light in my life." I don't remember writing that. These are some pieces using other artists' work that we'll come on to in a minute, but that was the original. I drew just a simple portrait, and then flowers out in my face, and then some paper cut. I actually quite really like this. And then this was one that I also used in my exam, and I related this to makeup kind of as makeup acting as a mask on the face. And then this was one that I did in fabric, which is quite cool actually. And yeah, the artist who does these stitch faces is Manny Robertson. I kind of drew on this way of kind of linking two sides of your personality together, masculinity and femininity. So I wanted to talk about how you can express both at the same time. You can be masculine and feminine at the same time, that's fine. And that's something I kind of like. These are some of the other artists that I drew on. So Marcelo Monreal, with the flowers growing out of the face, and then Christine Kim with the paper cut. And then Christine Kim I actually looked at GCSE as well, so I already knew about her. And yeah, kind of flowers growing out of the face I linked to kind of growing as a person. The way that flowers grow, they're very beautiful. Allowing yourself to grow is quite beautiful. I talked about the way that layering the faces on top of each other acts as masks, and changing the way that you are or who you are to appeal to other people. And then the paper cut from Christine Kim was about fragmentation, the complexity of people, the complexity of femininity, I guess. Which, I mean, you've already seen there's a lot that goes into it, isn't there? Femininity is unique to each person, so femininity means a different thing to each person. As I kind of explored earlier with what different women said about femininity. Yeah, on this page here. And then this was just kind of something I thought, how I celebrate my own femininity. And that was just me practicing painting flowers to see if I could incorporate them into my final piece, because I never actually tried to paint flowers before, I don't think, not properly. I didn't have anywhere to put it. It stayed in my phone case for a while. It was quite pretty, but I thought I should probably include it in my work because it took longer than it should have, so I might as well put it in. I used one of the pictures that I took at the Eden project as a reference for this. So yeah, kind of feminine traits. This is kind of being a bit big-headed. I have to talk about all of the positives about myself. So feminine traits: compassionate, elegant. I'm definitely not elegant, we'll ignore that one. Beautiful, and nurturing. I don't know, am I nurturing? There's a sense of community being a woman. I love that, I really love that. Creativity, making my own earrings and bracelets. Yeah, the bracelets I made broke. And creativity, that's definitely something that I needed to include as an art student. And then also kind of reconciling both masculine and feminine sides of myself and being able to be grateful for both of them. Yeah, and then final design, the very, very initial ideas. So this involved finding pictures of myself, and oh my god, these pictures I took in school and tried to send them to my like school account so I could print them out. And it took me so bloody long because I couldn't get connection. I literally walked around the entire school twice trying to find connection just so I could print out these bloody pictures. But in the end, I just WhatsApped them to my friend and she got them straight away and she printed them out. So it shouldn't have been that difficult. I think these were from a magazine. This kind of background was from a magazine. And then some of these, I like printed out the pictures and laid them on top of other things. Not all of these I did that with, so we've got kind of makeup and flowers that I cut out there, and then a very flowery background. There's a lot of flowers in here, and then some makeup from, I think they're magazine cutouts. And also kind of, I cut out my shirt to bring flowers through. It's a lot of just kind of trying to layer different things and see what looked good. And then that was my Kaethe Butcher piece, kind of layering myself on top. And then that was also an initial mind map for things I wanted to kind of think about in my final piece. Bringing in a suit and tie to represent the masculinity, because I didn't want that to get lost, because it's definitely not something I talked about a lot. I made a lot of small references to being able to be yourself. You don't have to be like one extreme or the other. You can be somewhere in between, a bit of both, and that's what I think I tried to bring into my final piece. That was actually using one of my old pieces where it was like a shadow on my face. And I drew it, and then I cut out the shadow part and put the flowers behind. You can definitely not really tell what's going on. And then these were the flowers I used in my final piece and the meanings behind them. I went and found the prettiest looking flowers from the ones that I took from the Eden project and searched up. Well, first of all, I used an app to try and identify what flowers they are, because I'm really bad to knowing my flower species, and then I'd search up and see if they had any significant meaning that I could link to femininity, and these were the ones that I came out with. And then colour theory, of course, and makeup. And then this was like my actual final piece, the development. So a lot of these look like the same thing. Oh, I don't know why that says voting there. I think that's come off a mind map or something. Oops. Yeah, a lot of these do look the same, but there's ever so slight differences. Like that one's got flowers in the tie. That one has also got flowers in the tie, but drawn on, and then that one's got some text in the tie, and then white flowers going around the main flowers. Then that one's the same, but oh wait, that's text in the flowers. And then they're all like very similar. There's some text there, and then you can't tell here, but the text has been changed to purple. And then this just kind of a mention that all of the flowers had their own meaning. And these were the very initial ideas. So that was my first idea, and then we kind of moved to that, and then to that. I can't remember what order it was. But yeah, this was before I found the flowers with the correct meaning. And then I think these were all still flowers that I took pictures of. These were the pictures I took with the suit. My head's really red in these, I'm not sure why. My hair wasn't red at this point. Yeah, you can't really tell that well, but I'm wearing pink eyeshadow, so I talked about kind of, that's the feminine side of me. And that is the end of my sketchbook. There's stuff in the back, but I think it's all just, yeah, it's old cutouts and doodles and whatever. One thing I haven't actually shown yet is my final piece, and I think that's quite important. This was my final piece. It took way too long, and I ended up hating it because I spent so long just staring at it. But seeing it for the first time in a few months today, and I quite like it. So I've come to the conclusion that I do like it. It's just I got bored of seeing it all the time. So yeah, I think this is all pretty much just acrylic paint. There might be a little bit of pencil crayon in there somewhere maybe. I was going to add text there, and I was going to add the white flowers and the tie, but I didn't in the end. I incorporated the paint around the edges to kind of resemble like these makeup swatches. And then the flowers that took absolutely ages. That one turned out so cool though, I think. And I think it definitely looks like me. It looks like the picture. And then the purple that I used is so pretty. I think that's it. I think that's all I have to say. So this video is kind of a way to just show off what I've done, but hopefully it could also help some of you with your own art pieces, whether you're focusing on a similar topic to femininity, or whether it kind of just gave you ideas on how to do A-level art, you know. Maybe it is a good idea to get the bulk of your work done before you start presenting it to kind of show a flow, because you could definitely see in my sketchbook we started off with some more negatives and then definitely flowed towards the positive. Spending so long kind of researching femininity has helped me kind of understand it a bit better and like it as part of who I am. And I think this piece definitely shows that. The suit and tie is very much just a very obvious point to the masculine side of me, because I wouldn't choose to wear a suit and a tie. I say suit and tie, I mean shirt and tie. It's probably been a bit long-winded. I'm not sure how long it'll be when I edit it down. And I'm sorry if you can hear my dog snoring in the background. He's obviously bored of what I'm saying. But yeah, thank you for watching. When I finally pick up my work, my exam work, I will make a video on it. I have the sketchbook with me, but I don't have a lot of the main pieces, including the final piece, because it is a big piece of wood. So yeah, thank you for watching. Bye bye.